You're listening to the Platte River Bard.
Hello, and welcome to the Platte River Bard. This is Chris Berger.
And I'm Sherry Berger. The 7-weekend run of the 2020 Kansas City Renaissance Festival was canceled due to the safety concerns resulting from the pandemic and reduced to a much safer 2-weekend drive-through event.
On this episode of The Bard, we talk with Rod Sipe, also known as Dr. Dumpe. Rod Sipe has been performing as a professional entertainer for over 40 years. In that time, Rod has presented tens of thousands of shows with an assortment of magical feats mixed with a brand of comedy that has amazed, amused, and entertained audiences throughout the United States, Mexico, and Europe.
Not only a magician, but also a fire eater. Rod Sipe is recognized as America's premier fire-eating magician and is a feature performer in a variety of venues, with his famous act performing as Dr. H. Dumpe, physician-turned-magician L.B.P. Sipe grew up in Paola, Kansas, where his family home was a former circus winter quarters, and it sparked an interest in Rod that has led him to a life of performing and presenting acts of the circus sideshows. You may have seen him in America's Got Talent, or with his variety artist troupe, the Voodoo Review. Or you may have even seen him in the highly celebrated and famous headlining act, Dr. Dumpe, physician-turned-magician L.B.P. But however you've seen him, you'll always know that you will get a performance that will amaze you and leave you laughing and wanting more.
As a new performer at KCRF in the early 90s, Rod Sipe was one of the veteran performers that took myself and my group in and showed us the ropes and shared his time and experience with us. And he wasn't the only one. That's how a lot of knowledge is passed on by these type of performers. It is by the veteran performers passing on what they have learned to the younger performers. There is not really a school that you can go to learn this kind of stuff. So it's people like Rod who pass on what they have learned to the next group coming up. And that is one of the many reasons why Rod Sipe has endured to entertain audiences for so long, and why we are honored to welcome him to the Platte River Bard. Okay, we are here today out still at the Renaissance Festival in Kansas City with Rod Sipe, who has an act out here. He is Dr. Dumpe. Rod, thank you very much for talking with us today.
I'm so happy to be here.
Now, gosh, I'm trying to remember. You've been out here as long as I can remember. What was your first year out at KC?
1979.
Was it 79?
Yeah.
Because they started in 77. 7, yes.
Yep.
Okay, holy cow.
Was that the first Renaissance Festival that you did?
I had never been to a Renaissance Festival until I showed up to perform.
Really?
That day.
Oh, no kidding.
I did a couple of promotions down on the plaza.
Okay.
The office was, the staff was really good about costuming tips.
Okay.
And believe me, the costuming was very basic.
Yes.
And I had no idea. And my whole knowledge came from my folks, my parents, who had been the year before.
Okay.
And came home. And I don't know how they just stumbled onto the Renaissance Festival. And they just said, hey, there's this thing going on. It's called a Renaissance Festival. And it looks like you might fit in there somehow.
Huh.
And so I took some notes back then. You know, you took notes.
Oh, sure.
And I kept that in mind. So I would look in 6 months. I made a note, on my page for 6 months ahead to start researching it even more and find out. And I went, and then I saw an ad in the Star or Times back when Kansas City had two papers, a morning and a nighttime paper. I saw an ad. Renaissance Festival was looking for actors and entertainers, specifically fire eater amongst others. And it was controlled by the Art Institute, owned it at that time. So I saw that ad, called them up, said, I'm a fire eater. Where are you at? They told me where the office was. I came in for an interview. Oh my gosh! Now this is 1979.
Sure.
So It's
yeah.
horrifying to think about it now.
Yeah.
But if I could have a video, I could have been a cast member of any of those films from the. I was in a 3-piece suit with still kind of a pretty wide lapel on my shirt.
Sure.
No tie, of course.
Nice.
It was on the very edge of that. So I went
That's
in
fantastic.
and oh gosh, did the interview, and I was so excited, and they were like, well, this is how this works. I didn't know anything about the structure of festival, street acts, stage
How it
acts.
worked, yeah.
They said, we're really interested in you, and here's what the pay structure is. And at that time, goodness, I was just a new entertainer and whatever. So
Okay.
my purpose the first year wasn't to make a living, because I still had a full-time job then.
Okay.
So it was more about the experience, getting in front of an audience,
Yes.
because I had learned by that, and I was still in my early 20s, and I knew that practicing as a fire eater and a magician, practicing at home in front of a mirror or whatever, is not like being on a stage in front of an audience.
Yes.
Right.
So I looked at it as an opportunity. Okay, if I could make enough money to pay my expenses and maybe take home a little bit of money, I'm going to get to be in front of, it was 5 weekends, I believe, and I did 6 shows a day then.
Oh, wow.
So I got
yeah.
to do 60 shows.
Oh, yeah, hundreds and hundreds of people, potentially, yeah.
And that's back when I was probably doing a month, if I was doing 4 or 5 shows a month, one a week maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's
So-
a great experience.
Oh, it was terrific, and street performance. There weren't street performers back then either,
Right.
Except in Europe there were street performers, but
Right.
in my world I didn't know anything about street performing.
No,
Well, they got introduced to the Renaissance Festival after Kansas City's. This is my home festival. After this first year here, I wasn't going to come back. I got the experience of being in front of all these people, but it was a lot of work. And back then, you were not on one stage, and I schlepped my show
Oh, and
from
you were
stage to stage.
Oh, no.
Holy
All
cow.
your equipment.
So
Yeah.
they asked me, like the last weekend, Marjana Rice and Gail Tallis
Okay.
were in the office, and they said, hey, you coming back next year and whatever? And I just went, nope. No, I was a trooper. It was a lot of work, and
Yeah.
I said no. And they're like, all right, well, okay, we'll think about it, And they were
Yeah.
very smart, because they waited until about 3 months before the next season. And I got a call, and they said, hey, we know you said no, but really, would you come back?
Yeah, what do you think?
And I'm like, I might. And they had also sent me a nice card that thanked me for being a part of the festival. And they had a gift in the office. And they said, well, if you're ever around, let us know. Come by the office. We just want to say hi and check. So I'd went in, and they gave me a mug that I still have.
Okay, yes.
They
Yeah.
gave me a nice mug. And I was kind of impressed, and I really liked the people. Big turning point, running into the right people.
Yes.
Holy cow.
It makes all the difference.
So I come back the second year, and I only had to move between 2 stages.
Okay.
So I had duplicate sets of props.
Oh,
'cause they were
nice.
way far apart, so I only had to get myself back and forth.
Oh, not bad.
I did that. Then that year, I ran into some real legends of the Renaissance circuit. I shared a stage with Johnny Fox,
Oh, okay.
who is now deceased.
Yes.
Great entertainer, sword swallower, and a great guy. Also, Danny Lord.
Oh, I
What a
remember Danny
character.
Lord,
He taught me
yes.
how to get in trouble and get away with it. That's the most important part of getting in trouble and being a jokester, is getting away
Getting
with
away
it.
with it.
And let's see, who else was there? Oh, Ovner the eccentric.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Legend
Yes, yes.
was here in Kansas City.
God, I haven't heard that name in forever.
Yeah. And so, and if people don't know who Ovner is, in the movie, Indiana Jones movie, was it Legend of the Nile? What was it? They're looking something on the Nile. Indiana Jones.
Or was it, Jewel of the Nile.
Jewel of the Nile.
Jewel
There
of
it
the
was. Jewel of the Nile. Ovner was the jewel
Yes,
in that movie.
yes.
He's a world-class clown, a very European-style entertainer, great guy. We sat backstage. It rained a little bit, and we would be backstage, and he's like, he goes, hey, kid, even though he's probably barely 5 years older than me.
Right, yeah.
But, hey, kid, I got to tell you, and I do a routine, and it's called a mouth coil. And he's like, man, I can tell you're new and you're not used to using that because I love doing the effect, the trick.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if you're going to do that, I've been doing it for 10 years. I want to show you how to do it. And he showed me how to set it up, how to do it, and made sure I was doing it right for that whole run. And I've probably done it 10,000 times in 40-some years.
Of course. Yeah, oh, yeah.
And it's... A lot of magicians don't like it because there's a degree of failure to it.
Okay.
Ovner, he took all the failure out of it.
Really?
And
And the method that he showed you how to do it, it works obviously it's worked every time.
Oh, yeah, it works every time. And even if it goes bad, he even instructed me of, if this happens, it could go bad. Do not panic.
Yeah.
Here's how you get out of it. You're going to do it.
Okay.
And a handful of times over the years, it has went bad, and I hear his voice, and I just go with it. And it's the best kind of magic to learn for me because then I could become an entertainer. All my energy and my focus is on entertaining,
Right.
instead of the mechanics of a trick.
Yes.
It's hard. It
Yes.
was always hard for me. And now, and I had another local Kansas City magician. His name was Claude Inslow. He told me once not to make the mistake of being a magician that tried to do 100 tricks. You don't need to know. He goes, you don't need to know 100 tricks.
Okay.
The most successful magicians, entertainers, they don't change tricks. They change audiences.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at one point I decided, I was in it about 10 years performing, and I was like, I'm going to overhaul my show. And I replaced about half of my show.
Okay.
And I immediately after the show, 'cause you know how you're visiting, you talk, people want to talk.
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, we love your show. And I was kind of fishing for compliments.
Yeah,
or
to see what they thought.
Yeah, and I said, what do you think about the new stuff? And they're like, yeah, we like this stuff. But we sure missed. And they knew exactly what they missed. And what I realized, you know, they go to see Frank Sinatra to hear New York, New York.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You got to play the hits, baby.
So then I figured it out, and then I went to maybe I would change one thing.
Okay.
Every year, just to
small
spice
changes.
it up. Small change. So I ran into the right people. I guess I've got off track here a little bit, but I was early, and I ran into the right people at the right time. So the second year, my goal was to learn how to get a crowd, get an audience. Difficult to do if you don't know what you don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
So I had great advice from all these guys. Johnny Fox helped me a lot. Ovner. And Danny Lord. He was way ahead of his time. He was really out there cutting edge. And they had done street performing in Europe, and they knew about not even speaking the language.
Yeah.
And being able to street perform and draw a crowd and communicate.
Yes, and draw a crowd. Yeah.
Hugely.
Yeah, Danny helped a lot of people.
Made a difference for me. And then my third year, and this, I don't say this to sound, I don't want this to sound greedy because I'm not a greedy person.
Right.
My third year was I was going to learn how to pass the hat.
Oh, yeah, you got to figure it out.
Let me tell you, for 2 years, I rolled up a lot of quarters.
Yes.
And Johnny Fox told me in my second year was like, towards the end of that run, Johnny Fox just said, "Man, you're rolling up a lot of quarters." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I don't know what I'm doing." He goes, "Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure it out."
Yeah.
So he told me, a couple of things, key stuff. And then the next year I started working on it, and I figured it out. And then it started becoming a not just a kind of a hobby and a lot of fun. But I never, I've always operated on this theme. I've never turned down a show that I didn't want to do because of money.
Okay.
Never. And
Okay.
and I don't want people. If you hear me say this, you got to really believe. It's hard to believe. If I heard somebody saying this, I'd just be like, "No, another entertainer." Yeah, that's a bunch of BS. But, I have so much fun performing. I never think about the financial end of it. And even when you're doing hat shows for a hat, and you learn how to pass a hat,
Sure.
and it becomes a substantial amount of money.
It can, yeah.
And I've seen it affect other people. It can, and then that becomes a driving force.
Yeah.
I never wanted that to happen, so I've always remembered why I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even remember. A veteran entertainer had told me to don't worry about the part of the tips of passing the hat was don't worry about the hat. Don't worry about the money. You do that show. The money will follow.
Yes.
And and it's so true. So,
Yes.
so true.
Yes.
And even to this day, I've heard other entertainers, and everybody's different, and I know it's the reality of, but I hear we're having conversations and whatever, like, "Oh, I had a huge crowd. I was doing this big street show, and my gosh, there was all these people, and I knew I was going to have to get out my trash can instead of my hat because I could see how much this hat was going to be on this."
Yeah.
And even to this day, I never think about the hat during the show.
Yeah, no, that's not something. Yeah,
Never think
yeah,
about it.
we're not that way. Yeah, we just the bigger the audience, almost always, 99% of the time, bigger the audience, better the show.
Yeah.
Almost every single solitary time. Yeah,
So it does happen. And then back to, I did an interview for a newspaper back when newspapers were really a thing.
yeah.
Do you remember the press at the front gate when they had the
the old Gutenberg press or whatever?
Well, no, where the media booth, the media room.
Oh, yes.
Back when it was print was the thing.
That's right.
This
They
is
had
before the
that.
internet. This is early '80s.
That's right. They had that media place
and
up
they
front.
plastered the wall with all the newspaper articles,
Yeah.
photographs, and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
So, to me personally, it was a big deal. It gave me some kind of, at that time, a legitimacy. I'd come through the media gate
Yes.
Saturday morning to see if I'd made any press,
Yeah.
because I thought,
You got in the
okay,
paper.
that's good. That's a good, the staff will like it. Oh, he's generating press. He must be something to see.
Sure.
And then after a while, after you get a little bored, as you get a little bored with the media, and you start fudging the truth, and you tell some crazy stories just for your own entertainment to see if it gets into print.
Just see if it's always done.
One time I gave people say, why are you a fire eater? Oh, I made up this story about seeing Elvis's Roustabout.
Okay.
And I was watching Elvis. I was like, I'm an Elvis fan, and he was in this movie Roustabout, and there's a carnival scene, and there's a fire eater in the background. And I saw this guy eating fire, and I instantly knew when I saw that movie, I'm going to be a fire eater. So it's Elvis. I'm telling this to a reporter.
Right.
So the very next week, the
Z'd
paper
it up.
comes out, and it tells this whole story that I've made up about Elvis encouraged me to be a fire eater. But back to the media booth up there. And then there's a certain, as you know, as you go along and you mature, then there's the aggravation factor of the other entertainers who are up there to check the press,
Yes.
and then they got to look at my and fire. I admit it. You can't be fire. I don't care.
Yeah.
You can be the suckiest entertainer ever. If you can E-fire, you can juggle fire, E-fire. E-fire is even better.
Yep.
people will watch fire.
Yes, they will flock.
And you
Fire, and swords. You pull out swords and start banging them
Exactly.
together, and people just come from nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with any kind of fire stunt at all. People just flock.
And I learned to eat fire mainly because my magic was so bad and so unentertaining that I had to have something else. I knew I had to have something else. And I did this magic trick where you light a pan on fire and you put the lid on it and then you take the lid off and there's a bird.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I did that. I had a dove, and so I would do that. Well, I got this idea because I was learning a little fire eating, but I wasn't entertaining with it. It was kind of weird. So I'd light my dove pan,
Okay.
and then I'd eat the torch. Just that simple. And then after the show, people, they forgot about the bird. They forgot about every trick I
All
did.
they remembered
went,
was that you ate the
"You
torch.
ate that fire. How did you eat that fire?" And I was like, "Ooh, I'm on something. This fire's the deal."
Yeah, apparently.
So then I'd have this, full color front page above the fold. That's always the best in the news.
Oh, yeah.
In the back when newspapers were a thing, and I like to I have some young entertainer guys, and I've told them, I had to explain to them because a couple of us were talking about, oh yeah, front page full color above the fold, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Well, newspapers. And they're like, "Why is it?" Well, because all newspaper machines has that edition, the current edition. What you see is front page full color above the fold.
Yep.
So that's where you want to be.
Yes.
So, gosh, how did we get? I bet this is not like I thought this was gonna go.
No. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Oh, it's great.
No, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, and thank you so much for talking to you. And I just remembered that I forgot to say he is a magic and fire eating act. I've just known him forever. I assume everybody knows what he does. But no, he's a magic and fire eating act. As you can tell, we've been talking about fire eating, and he's been out here since the second or third year that the fair has been going, and
Crazy long time.
and
And I never thought I was coming back after the first year. That's the strangest part of it.
And I think all the performers that have been out here for a long time have that story of early on they're like, I didn't think I wasn't gonna do it. And
I'm out of here.
30 years later, 40 years later, well, something's still
it.
here. Yeah.
But you get such an education in entertainment.
Yes.
If anybody's been around, has any longevity at a festival, what we know, maybe the general public doesn't know, if you can perform at a Renaissance festival, you're bulletproof. Anywhere,
Yes.
anytime.
Yes.
All they got to do is say, "Do your act right over there," and they just point to the spot, and you can do it.
Yeah.
And heck, I've done tours with Brooks Dunn's Neon Circus and Wild West show, 16, 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And the other entertainers I call them the young guys, just because I'm an old guy. I can call them the young guys,
Sure.
and they're just nervous, and they're going there. I'm over sitting in an easy chair, going, "Yes,
yeah.
2 minutes still, call."
Yeah,
And
big deal.
but if you get your chops at a Renaissance festival,
Yeah, if you can hold a Ren Fair audience,
Yeah.
I think you can pretty much you can hold any
Anywhere.
audience anywhere. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how big it is.
they have the total flexibility to get up at any time
Yes.
and go.
Everything is competing for their attention, and their friends are talking to them, and they want to have turkey leg, and they want a beer, and
And it's not even personal sometimes.
no, it's not.
But it feels real personal
It
when you're
always
23
does.
years old and they're and a whole family, 6
Gets up
people
and leaves.
gets up. They're on the second row and they get up.
Yes,
And
of
that's
course.
about a fourth of your audience.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
I didn't know how to
yes.
have a crowd. But
Yeah, what did I do?
yeah, you take it real personal.
It's true.
And I used to be way distracted by any kind of noise, anything going on.
Oh,
If
geez.
another act or lane act or somebody did something that just
It's really
got my
loud or something,
attention.
Yeah.
it freaked me out all those years ago. And then I learned that the audience they don't hear it, they don't see it.
No.
If you got you're the act,
If you're going,
they're
yeah.
focused on you.
They're focused.
Because
Yeah.
I've had one of my craziest things, so I do a lot of fairs and festivals, state fairs, county fairs, small fairs, big fairs, state fairs. I actually was on a stage, and I was like it was a band, country and western band, was going to play like 20 minutes, then I was going to do 20 minutes, and then they were going to come back and finish the show.
Okay.
So I'm up there doing mine. Well, when I get there, I notice that this 4-H building, or it's in their arena part of it.
Okay. They
don't even have bleachers, small fair. Everybody brings their lawn chairs, and they set them up. And when I get there early and I see them setting up chairs, and I notice that nobody's setting up chairs from left to right across the middle of this stage. I'm like, what's going on?
Huh.
And then I see these doorways from building to building. Well, when you're performing, they're showing animals, and they're leading them through this aisle of people. So there's 8 rows of chairs. There's a space for comes a pig goes by with a kid takes there's livestock going by, and then there's another 8 row of people behind this. Well,
okay,
I'm going to finally put a tail on this dog. I'm going to get you there to this story. So I'm into my middle of my big, and I hear a goat, nanny goat, bellering, and they're loud.
Oh, yes.
So, and nobody's I'm looking off to the side. I hear it coming. The audience is not even budging. It's a girl. She's probably 12, 13, 14 maybe. She's dragging this big old pregnant nanny goat, and it's resisting, and she's pulling it and pulling it. And then it's real apparent to me why this goat is resisting.
Oh, no.
She drops her kid right there in my show.
Oh, no.
Now, if you ever run into another entertainer who has had that happen, I don't think I don't know. That'll be the weirdest. So it birthed this baby goat, and most of the people didn't
notice.
They didn't know. They didn't pay any attention.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, but goats are born really, really fast.
Okay.
So, that goat is born.
And they run.
On their feet. Yeah, and the girl, and then the mama goat's not resisting. She pulls on the lead. Baby goat follows the mom, and off they go.
Oh,
Holy
my gosh.
moly.
And this is before everybody had cameras on their phones or anything, but can you imagine that being on film? The look on my face would have been the one to see, because nobody else really cared about a goat being born in my show.
Oh, man, I love it. That is awesome. I do want to thank you for coming on the podcast, but also thanks for coming out today. We're thanking everybody.
This has been a great time.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's getting paid for this. We're kind of doing this and throwing it out online to, just for something, to have something.
Yeah.
And
we miss our audiences.
We do.
Miss
We miss
you.
our audiences, and we clearly miss each other, because I know everybody was kind of looking forward to seeing everybody today. So
for sure.
And we're sticking around and watching
And look
each
at the
other's
weather
shows.
we got.
And it's perfect. I know. So of course
nice.
we're not.
Yeah, we're not doing shows.
Yeah, of course. It's perfect weather.
We're used to thousands
that's
of
what
people.
happened to Nebraska too. They canceled their fair in May and in
Yeah.
August, and both weekends the weather was beautiful.
Yeah, it's like
goodness.
mid-70s
So
and a light breeze
it's
and
the
sunny.
2020 curse, I think.
This would have been a banner weekend. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we're just we're going to look forward to 2021. Hopefully
Yes.
things get back to
Yes.
to normal, and
Yep, we can see everybody again.
I think we better warn everybody for next year, because we're going to have some pent up energy. There'll be some hijinks going on.
I think you're right.
Going on. Bring a goat if you have a pregnant goat.
There you
Hey,
go.
Come
bring
to
it.
my show. And we'll make it happen twice in my lifetime.
Excellent.
That's the best magic, is the magic you didn't have to do.
Yeah,
That's right.
pairing goat trick.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you, Rod.
Oh, you're
Sipe,
welcome.
Yes,
Dr.
thank you.
Dumpe. You will be able to see him on the very last weekend that the Kansas City Renaissance Festival would be airing virtually, that the Jolly Rogers will be putting up on YouTube, and we will give you links for that. So,
Great.
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
All
you.
right. Cool.
Thank you for listening and supporting the arts in the Platte River area and beyond. Please subscribe to our podcast so you are sure to catch all of our future episodes and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Music for this podcast was used with permission by Screaming Skull Productions. See you next time on the Platte River Bard.